It's,
That's the EDA gal?
yeah. She's in Colorado visiting family.
Nice.
Okay, this is our November EDA meeting, 6:30. It's November the 28th. With that, we'll do the roll call. Ryland Nyquist. Say your name, that's all I got.
Jeff Shupe
Oh, Adam Beeling.
and Jan Tronson.
Right. See, we have an agenda. I would just like to add a couple walk-on items. One is the Rochester Area Economic Development Incorporated. You should know that, investment or something like that. Comment there, and also the Sistine Boutique are two items I'd like to add for the walk-on items.
What was that second one?
Sistine Boutique, it's a shop over on the other side of Orinoco on Lake Shady Avenue, so I can, it's spelled Sistiquue and Boutique, Boutiquue.
And you'd like those both under new business or?
Yeah, it's a business that dress, women's dress. So I make a motion to approve the agenda with those changes.
I'll second
Jan? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
it.
Aye. Opposed? Approved. We had the October 24th minutes. Rebecca typed up for us. Any changes or corrections there?
I make a motion to approve.
Yeah.
I'll second
it.
Go ahead.
Favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. So as Rebecca mentioned, Chris Geeson had a family funeral to attend today, so they'll give us the presentation. There's quite a few slides. I think Jeff had a copy of it there, but so we'll we have a December meeting, we'll have it. If not, we'll have it in January. Chris,
And either way, I will ensure that you all have a printed copy of that. The reason I have it laid out like I do is just so that you have an area to make notes if you so choose, or if you have questions, anything like that. So we'll make sure you each have a paper copy of that too.
okay, great, thank you.
Mhm.
So with that, next item, new business, community engagement planning. And Rebecca, if you want to make some comments here.
Yep. So the big things to take a look at with that is, I have been working with Renee and the county GIS system so that I could get a full list of all of the property owners and the residents that are within our city limits. We have a total of 606 households that are going to be included in that mailing. That helped us to be able to finalize our budget as well. After speaking with the Zumbrota newspaper and the Rochester Post Bulletin, our final budget, including the event and all the marketing leading up to the event, is around $10,855. We stretched it to make it that large because not a penny is actually going to be spent by the city of Orinoco for this. More than 50% of those costs are going to be in-kind donations by the city. For example, this report itself, we have down for about $6,000. So that's my time, which you guys have already taken care of through your contract. Other things include the event rental, the event center rental, so the other smaller items that we already have and don't need to be getting, as well as the fact that we'll be doing our printing in-house. So actually it'll be paying for our mailing, and then the rest of the money can go towards my contract, or to repay for my contract, or to go towards the EDA making changes at the end. So we actually might net some money off of this. Typically, the Compeer Financial Grant is about a 2-week turnaround. I already have that completely ready to be sent out. I would just ask that some point this evening, we take a look at some calendars and think about what might be the best dates for hosting that community engagement. And then we'd be able to just kind of hit the ground running, because I'll send out that grant application and begin working with newspapers to set up some advertising. So we'll get that done right away.
Well, the grant will cover. And the CETA contract will cover part of the 10,855, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So there's no money to be budgeted from the city for this, is that correct?
Exactly.
Excellent.
Yep.
What event center are you thinking of?
Oh, I was thinking we'll just host it there, but I know Renee said it was regularly $100 for rental, so we made sure to include that in the budget as well.
Okay, all right, yeah, that should be no problem.
Yeah, we like to make sure we've got everything in there, including the markers that we have to purchase, which we won't have to purchase because I have a plethora.
Okay,
So those kind of things are all included.
I know if we talked about the event center, People's Energy Cooperative has always offered their conference room as well, but it might be good to have the first one here, just to get people coming to this city hall. That's one of the things we could, whenever we decide, we could set up a schedule for something to be put on our message boards as well,
Mhm.
on both sides of the highway. So excellent. That's really made some good progress. Thank you.
Yes, that should be about ready to go. What I was thinking for dates would be to advertise for the entire month of January and then have the actual event at the start or mid-February. I just wanted to check to see what your thoughts were on that as a board, or if you wanted to try and make it come further. I do find that by giving people enough time to get those surveys back, we tend to get a much higher rate of return.
So you're planning to send a survey out in late
We'd send
January?
the survey out right away, at the beginning of, well, probably end of December, mid-December. We just like to have it back around the time that we have that community engagement, because some people will, instead of mailing it back in, they'll just bring it with them to that event to turn it in. And then while they're getting all of their surveys taken care of, they'll be seeing the posters going up about the event. They'll be seeing the advertisements in the papers. Both papers would include digital as well. With the Post Bulletin, it would be targeted so that we wouldn't have to pay extra to go to their entire circulation. They'd just do for the Orinoco subscribing area.
Is there a certain day of the week that you have in mind? Like, is there a certain day where people are more apt to be engaged? Would it be a weeknight or a Saturday afternoon, or?
Typically they are on weeknights. We like to stay away from Wednesdays because that's typically church night, unless that's something different in Orinoco. I also will want to double check as far as athletics, make sure that we don't accidentally book it on the night when there's a big game. So typically I think Tuesdays are a great night. I think Thursdays kind of iffy, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays seem to be really good. Mondays, I think people just they need that little reminder day.
Yeah,
But if you think that a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday evening would work better, I am more than happy to work on a weekend. That's not a problem at all.
yeah, Tuesdays are just from the standpoint of council meetings, standing committees. The first Tuesday is open. I'm looking at the February dates here now.
Yep.
So February 6th it would be an open night. February 8th is a P and Z commission. The 13th, next Tuesday, is water and sewer. The 15th would be open. The 20th is city council. 22nd is open. The 27th is our EDA meeting, and then the 29th is open.
How do we feel about Wednesdays? Do you think that it would be problematic to do that? Because I know confirmation and things like that go on, but those necessarily wouldn't be the people coming to our event.
In the past, we've tried to sit as a council, we've tried to avoid
Okay.
Wednesday nights because of athletics or church night too, choir, whatever the case may be.
Okay, because we can certainly do a Monday as well, if that works better.
If we
Well,
wanted
if we
to,
have it here, we can, the second is, the 12th is a township meeting here.
Okay,
And the 19th is Orinoco Township Planning Commission meeting. They use the room here, so the 12th and the 19th are out. 13th and the 20th are out.
okay.
The 6th and 8th and 1st.
How do we feel about February 5th?
We're leaning more towards Monday than Tuesday. I was thinking the sixth just because it's Tuesday, but
We have a Parks meeting on the 5th. I
Okay,
didn't mention when we started talking here.
on the 6th, I have to be in Rushford Village for their city council meeting at 7 PM.
Okay.
so my question is, if you put it out the middle of December, as Christmas, New Year's, a lot of people might not answer that stuff.
Mm-hmm,
New Year's, first of the year, January kind of comes up, people are kind of doing some things. You hate to get off into March because that gets down a little bit farther, but is there something maybe towards the end of January? That, maybe the
we
last,
certainly can.
February, we could maybe do something?
Just the weather.
Well, I mean, the weather's gonna be the weather for the next 4 months.
Right,
Like, nothing I can do about that. And if it snows, or, you know, gets bad weather, you gotta cancel and do something different.
Or February 13th, you said is open as well.
No, that's water and sewer.
Oh, got it.
So if you look at the open nights are the 6th. We're gonna exclude Friday nights. If you exclude Wednesday and Friday nights, the available nights for the room here would be on the 5th, 15th, 19th, 22nd, 26, 27, and 29.
okay. All of those dates work for me.
If we set the survey if we set the survey out after the first of the year and go for a February 29th date or 26th.
Yeah, we just push back when we start that print advertising, because I think about 6 runs is what we would typically be looking at, 4 to 6, just to make sure everybody gets a chance to see that.
In the February, I think people.
Yeah.
Tend to be wanting to get out better than the last week in January, early February.
Mhm.
29th?
So are we thinking was it the 26th or 29th?
Yeah, that's. What's everybody's thoughts? Any difference one day or the Monday or Thursday?
I'm just inclined to say that the Thursday night would be better than a Monday night, with, like I said, Mondays, usually people are recovering from Monday. And Monday night football, Thursdays, at least in my household, seems like there's less stuff going on. Mondays and Wednesdays for soccer, Thursdays are usually pretty open. But yeah, I don't know how much Monday night football is gonna bother anything.
People gone for the weekend, so coming back on Monday.
Yeah.
All depends how the Vikings do.
Football should be over by then.
That's
Oh,
one of
good
the
point,
over-
good point.
over-
Or, and the 27th was not available that Tuesday.
That's our EDA night.
Oh,
Put that on there.
well, we could also
Combine it.
combine it.
Yeah, that's true. I like the 27th too.
Would there be much on the agenda?
No, because I think for the most part at that point, unless there's something else that comes up between, obviously there'll be things that come up between now and then, but it's usually pretty easy to keep an EDA meeting short as long as we are prepared the month before.
What time would you have it, like 7 o'clock?
That would be the other thing to check with you guys on. Some people prefer to start later. Others do like to start a little bit earlier. I know that since Orinoco is so close to Rochester, is probably not as big of a gap in time from 5 PM to to 6 where people are having to do as much travel as if they lived further out. So I would say, yeah, between 5:30 and 6:30 or 7
Are we
would be a
feeding people
great
on this or
time.
no?
All of our meetings are 6:30.
Okay, then we might as well just stick right with that then.
Let's stick with 6:30 and
Let's start the other one at 7.
instead of 7, yeah.
I mean, if,
Well, I think what he's saying
in
is-
other words, if you had 6:30 to 7 and you held that event at 7 o'clock.
We had our
Well,
meeting
I guess
first.
I don't know what are your thoughts about that evening? From a time frame, what do you envision?
The last few that we've done have honestly taken about an hour to an hour and a half. Because typically what it'll consist of is we'll have some questions to discuss at tables with small groups. That doesn't take too terribly long. And then there is a portion where everybody's going to get up and visit some stations around the room and be able to give some input using sticky notes and markers. I can bring in an example next month and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about so that you can see it all ahead of time as well. But we'll be asking specifically about questions on trails and paths, parks, the school. Will be asking about where they'd like to see new housing developments and commercial or industrial expansion. So it'll be different topics kind of throughout the room for people to be able to put their input on. And by giving them those sticky notes to do it, they don't necessarily out themselves as to who gave what feedback. So it sometimes allows people to give a little bit more honest feedback, I think.
So, would you advertise like a 6:30 to 8?
Yeah,
Time? So people know it's not like a 3-hour council meeting.
yes, yeah, for sure.
In that scenario,
Yeah.
though, Ryland, are we having this meeting then at 6, from 6 to 6:20 or 6:25?
Or
Or,
we'll just skip the meeting.
or just skip the meeting, this is the
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, you could have a very short I mean,
Got it, got
say
it.
you had the meeting at 6 to 6, we can change that.
If something comes up from our January meeting that we need to keep moving along, we can do that earlier.
Well, I'll
Yeah,
make a motion
absolutely.
to do that we do the Tuesday night on the 27th at 6:30
27, yeah.
at 6:30 for the event.
I second that.
Was that second by Jeff?
Yep. So let's put an end date, 8 PM on it.
Yep.
Goes over, that's fine, but those people that want to leave after 8, they can, and if they want to stay here.
Perfect. And then Mayor, I will also be sending, once I get the proofs back for advertising, I'll be making sure I send those to you just so that you have the chance to take a look and make sure those are okay before we hit send on those two.
So with all this great advertising, do you think this room is big enough?
How many do we how many can it hold?
100 and. I'll check.
Because as much as I'd love to say that we are going to get, more than 100 people there, it's not necessarily typical.
No, I wouldn't guess so either. It looks like we could hold 50 or 80 in here pretty
Says
easily.
100.
Yeah.
The point is, the walk-ins, walk around, walk out.
Yeah, and the hour and a half, I bet you 50% of the people stay for 20 minutes.
Turnovers, I would say half the room will be turned over.
Right.
It says maximum room occupancy not to exceed 100 people or 50 people if room is divided.
I'd have to imagine that's enough.
Yeah, I would think so too. And I think if we did for some reason have an outstanding turnout like that, we could always move part of it into the room upstairs for some of the individual table discussion.
Okay, that sounds good.
Going back to the survey, is there? How does that look? Is it's a card that goes out and then do people fill something out and then it's pre-stamped and sent back? Or is there a digital component where somebody can scan it, go
Yep.
on to some website and do it there? How does it all work?
Yep. So what I'll do is online, there's a way to get these free QR codes. And that QR code, we're going to include it in our advertisement in the papers. We're going to include it in our postcards. And it's going to be included in those letters so that people can scan it with their phone and go ahead and take it digitally. We'll also have a link available to put on the website so people can go there and go to it as well, especially because we want people to be able to give more than one response in case a husband and their wife want to fill it out separately. Or maybe they want to send it to a cousin of theirs that lives in the area. Anything like that, they'd still be able to have multiple times of going through it. But the physical paper copy, would be sent out. Typically, it was like 5 pages front and back. A lot of it is, multiple choice quickly. People are able to just check some boxes. There's obviously some places for them to do some write-ins. There will also be a reminder card included that has a magnet on the back of it, and that will be for your refrigerator with an event reminder for the community engagement event. Just so people kind of have that sit there. We've had a lot of feedback that people have really appreciated those and that they've worked. So we try to just include that. And then a pre-postage paid envelope to send back their survey. And the main reason we tried that is we saw about a 30% increase in the number of returns that we got by making sure we gave them that avenue to give it back to us without them having to go out and buy a stamp or physically come and return them.
Yeah.
So all of that's already included in the budget as well. But those packets will go out. So right as soon as we're ready to get going, and about a month before the event takes place, so that people have plenty of time to fill them out, get them back, or bring them back when they come and visit for the event. But I think lately with any of these that I've done, I've had about a 35 to 40% return rate, which is, to me, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions kind of about the process? And I'll bring a copy of the packet, of what the packet will look like, as well as some samples of what that engagement process will look like that night. I'll bring that all to our meeting for December so that we can lay it all out there and everybody has a chance to take a look at all the information.
So just talk about the outcome of the meeting. And taking all that information, does that be put into a report then?
Yep, we'll go ahead and we'll create a 2024 community engagement report, and that will go through the same way that a comprehensive plan would, by going through each of those areas to discuss what the city's plans are, what the community input is, and then it will have some recommendations on what types of activities or grants or different types of funding that could be used to help achieve the goals that were set throughout that process.
Okay. Right.
And there'll be individual programs that will be identified to be able to look at. So it'll be an action plan essentially afterwards that we'll be able to adopt and get and move towards.
Excellent. That sounds great. I think that's going to be a great tool for us to use and going forward, and just helping engage the community. That's the main thing.
Absolutely. And I think the more that the community ends up seeing that the city's working on getting their input, it's just amazing how many more people are wanting to get involved once they realize that everybody really wants to have the same end goal.
Well, the advertising that you're talking about in the packet is what's going to go out in the survey, and that should draw a lot of interest, I would hope so.
Yep. And I'll also be including a copy of my business card in all of those packets too. That way, Renee will not be bombarded. If there's a whole bunch of questions regarding it, they'll have my direct information to reach out if they've got questions too.
So does this, the community engagement planning, does that need to go to the council just as an FYI then?
We certainly can. I can do a little type up for them for the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could include just a quick memo, just outlining the timeline, sequence of events, advertising. I don't think there's any motions or anything that's needed or resolution. I think it's just FYI.
Yep. And I'll just get that sent to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Along those lines, is there, I don't want to say, the intent is the growth, vision that the community has. That's kind of the overarching goal.
Mm-hmm.
however, obviously, people that are coming here are going to ask about planning and zoning or the water, sewer project or whatever that might be, so those aren't I mean, they're kind of tied in, but they're not tied in.
Right.
And you're gonna get a lot of people here. So is there any benefit to having, other boards members here to set up so that they can answer those questions, so that we're not necessarily occupying EDA's time to field those questions?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think that having as many people from the city in-house to participate is fantastic, because it also sends a message to the community that we all want to work together, not separately. But we do have to be careful of open meeting law with city council members. So we just need to make sure that if there are going to be a quorum of city council members available, then the city council will have to go into session essentially. So we need to be cautious about the number of council members that are in attendance.
So
One of the communities I had done this in previously left their most recent city council meeting open to reconvene. And then at the very end of our meeting, they closed that particular council meeting, but that avoided any issues with open meeting law.
So what we've done in the past, when you had events like this and, or National Night Out, sometimes we just put a statement that says there could be a quorum of council members there, but we really don't have a meeting as such, just that
Right.
it kind of covers the council members all being there, So
Yeah,
it's
no,
not,
that's perfect. Yeah.
so we don't have a meter there, it's awareness to the public that a potential quorum of council members might be there, so.
Right. And if there are people with questions that are very specific for planning and zoning or something along those lines, we can always get them in touch with the individuals that they need to be in touch with. We'll make sure that they go home with all the information, or at least the contact information that they need to get their questions answered. So it might not be that they get it answered that night, but we'll make sure that they have everything they need when they leave to be able to get that question answered. So we'll want to make sure that they leave with the best possible taste in their mouth.
So I mentioned this before, but planning and zoning, they're also they're taking a section of our code around housing and lots and use permits. It's the 150 codes. And they've hired a company to, over the next year, realign and rewrite our planning codes. So part of that is community engagement. So, it's following a lot of the same lines as what we're doing here as well. So that's Wendy Phillips is the chairman of that committee. And it might be good just to touch base with her, explain to her what you're putting together and see if that can complement what they're doing. We don't want to take away from what we want to do, but at the same time, I think they'll be gathering a lot of the same information.
Well, right. And I think planning and zoning and economic development are really so hand in hand that any questions that they have, I think, are going to fit right into our process.
Right.
So I'll put that down to get in touch with her this week still, and we'll see if we can have her kind of get me a list of questions or review the survey that I have to see what she'd like to add.
So her email is Orinoco Zoning, all one word, at orinoco.com.
Perfect.
If you want
Okay.
to copy
And I will
it.
reach out to her right away in the morning then.
So I think it'd be good to engage them. They've hired a company called WSP to pull the plan together. And I don't know what their exact start date is or their plan for when they want to do a community engagement. I think it's that January, February timeframe too, but
Okay.
make her
So
aware,
we'll see if we can coordinate it.
complement each other. So.
Awesome. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a really good event.
Yeah, I think so too. It'd be
And we'll
nice
make
if
sure
there
there's
was-
coffee and cookies just to keep everybody happy.
There you go. Food draws people.
Always.
So we talked about anything else on the planning, otherwise we'd go to the December meeting date.
Nope, not unless you
So-
guys have any questions.
No. Okay, December 26th is our next meeting date. That's the day after Christmas Day. That's a Tuesday, of course. So the question is whether or not, now City Hall is closed both because of holiday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day is Monday, and then we take Tuesday off too. So City Hall is technically closed the 25th and 26th. So people traveling, coming back on the Tuesday, the 26th. I'm wondering if that's gonna be a difficult date to have everybody expect to show up here, so.
Well, we could always look at pushing it a week early to Tuesday, the 19th, except I know that's council.
Right. That's our
Well,
budget.
that's a pretty big night for you guys. You guys don't really want to add an extra one to that night.
Thursday night is open.
Okay.
Well,
Reading the previous.
the 21st. It'd be nice to have a meeting to get Chris, if he's available.
Yeah, and he did state that he would be available that particular week. I would just have to double check that he would be available that Thursday.
I know there's a lot going on before Christmas, that's the only. But,
Is there anything going on Tuesday, the 12th? We could always do it the 2 weeks early, give everybody their break for the holidays and then meet back up again fresh in January.
yeah, that's our water and sewer meeting.
Okay,
I guess we're gonna do the Thursday for motion first of December and
So Jen made a motion the 21st.
we'll do the 21st, that Thursday.
okay.
Someone wants to second that? That's-
So how about if we, appreciate the motion, why don't we just, before we make a motion, why don't we survey the members, see who's available? Because some people may be traveling, going someplace on
I'll
Christmas.
withdraw my motion.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Say otherwise, if you would want to make a motion, we could state that we would like to make the motion to have it that on the 21st, just pending approval of the remaining board members. That way, at least if it is okay, we have it already ready to go.
Pending the response from the members, something like that.
Yep.
I'll second that.
Perfect.
I think it'd be good for you to have it, but that's
I will not,
comments.
I won't be able to make the 21st.
Okay.
I'm TBD. I gotta check with my wife. She knows, she keeps the calendar. I think that might be the day we're leaving, but we might be leaving the day after, so really close.
Problem with that is anytime we do the December, there's not really a good time.
Yeah,
And truly between now and then, just to kind of make sure that everybody here is aware, because of some recent activities at City Hall, I have been assisting a little bit with City Council as well. I did attend the last City Council meeting so that I could do minutes, and I'm helping to get caught up on a few of them. So there won't be as much activity between now and then as far as new activity. It'll be me working on the advertising, the posters, the surveys, getting all of that out. And then I'll also be working on getting some of those minutes completed. So if you didn't have a meeting in December, I don't think that we'd be missing that much. But I'm gonna leave that obviously completely up to you guys, but just so that you know kind of what my workload has been, and in the next 30 days, kind of what it's going to continue looking like.
So
But that way, if you guys feel comfortable either way.
if the people can't make it, we don't have a quorum, I guess people would know so that everyone doesn't feel well. To say, well, we can't have a meeting anyway, so, I guess that's the way to work that out too, is that. If, I still haven't got the password, I still don't get anything from you guys, so I still haven't. I don't know if you guys have been able to log in, I've never been able to log in to get anything for me, so. My password whatever, she put it out, I tried it and it didn't work, so.
So we have to redo that.
Yeah,
I got
Adam's
mine,
having
I'm good.
trouble. Are you having trouble too?
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
I mean, I tried a couple different times throughout the day to log into my email and I'm pretty tech not savvy, so it might be a me thing. But I got to a stage where it said, I'm not permitted right now and I have to have an admin of the account do something.
Yeah, that, I actually got that today too, but there is, if you go in there and pick the application, which is Outlook, it comes up. So if you're actually logged in, your initials will be in the very top corner. If your initials are
Upper right
there,
or
it means-
whatever.
or upper right corner. If you're in, if that's there, then you just go, I think somewhere on the other side, you can see it, pick the application, like a Microsoft type application.
Okay,
You just pick Outlook because it's email
Just have
and
to
it'll
drop
pop
out.
right up.
I'll just have to stop out, you have to show me. Cause I don't, my password is just,
It could have expired.
it did, well, it did, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I said, that's the last couple of meetings, I said I don't have it to be able to do anything with, so.
Right, so you would need whoever the admin.
That was Sunny, so I don't know if
Right.
it was transferred to
So
Renee or not.
I just need, and you remind me, I just need to be, like I said, I just.
a new invite, I think I might be in the same.
So anyway, figure it out. My
For
thought,
the next couple meetings, would it be beneficial, Jan, maybe if would you give Ryland a secondary email? And I'll make sure that you're copied on both of them, just to ensure that you're getting information while we get it figured out.
Sonny was sending me everything, so Weiss would send me, this or that, send me the agenda and send me the stuff and.
So why don't you give it, why don't you
It's
give
just
her-
my name at hotmail.com. Just
Oh, perfect.
hotmail.com.
First name and last name?
It's just Jan Tronson at hotmail.com.
Okay.
You give me mine too, Rebecca, just until I get an invite or in case I have further issues, but.
Yep.
Adam Beedling at yahoo.com.
Okay. And actually, I think you guys gave me those particular addresses, I think already.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, the more we talk from, maybe we should, let's just cancel the December meeting. And allow Rebecca to do her thing.
Will we still have an opportunity to review the questionnaire before it goes out, Rebecca?
Yes, absolutely. And I will make sure that I will send you each a copy of the surveys before they go out, so that you all have a chance to put some input in. I'll send you guys copies of each of the different pieces that will go in that mailing. And then I will also be sure to let you guys know when all the advertising will be coming out, all the print dates, anything like that. And any questions that any of you have for me at any point in time, pick up the phone, shoot me an email. I will be happy to respond at any time. And I'll obviously still be coming into the office once a week and probably be trying to come in twice a week, at least during December.
What day of the week
On
do
a
you come
couple
again?
different dates.
Did you have a set day per week that you come in or what days? are you-
Thursdays, yep.
Good to know.
Is there, out of the training, that we were going to start tonight, is there action items for us that we will have
No.
to? No, okay,
Nope, there's nothing that you guys have to do. It's more of an opportunity for an overview on the entire process and giving you guys a chance to kind of clarify some things if you have questions. And then I also have a very rough draft ready of a set of bylaws, and that will be something else I will be sending out to you all ahead of time of our next meeting. So you have a chance to review that and we'll be able to have a discussion over that, but I did want to wait until Chris had gotten a chance to go over the training first before we tried to solidify anything. I just thought it might be a good step. And also when I send out information because we won't be having a meeting in December, I will send out a copy of my monthly report to each of you so that you at least have that available to know what was happening between now and then.
go ahead.
I have a question then, because we don't have December meetings. My term is up on December 31st. So I won't be at the January meeting.
You're out of here.
Oh,
You
no,
sure
I
you don't want to
think-
stick around 6 more years?
That's when it's up on December 31st, so the January meeting, I wouldn't be at the January meeting, because I don't know how you guys all, I don't know how they all gonna do this or
Well,
whatever.
we still have another slot to fill yet too, right?
So, what's that?
Isn't there another EDA slot to fill with somebody
Right, well,
other
that in
than,
just a minute.
yeah,
We'll just
right.
talk. So it okay, we just cancel the December meeting, withdraw the motion and.
Yep.
Let's do that then.
Okay,
I'll share that with Renee to make sure to, take it off the community calendar, so.
okay, perfect. So Jan, are you interested in going for another term?
But yeah, he's got, I guess the whole, is, I put it in and I, you figure the period of time that I spent the time and it was like, well, a year of it is 6 months and. I mean, you gotta start somewhere, cause that's what this thing started, so.
We haven't got much done yet, though, have we?
We haven't done, I mean, let's put it this way, I've showed up this far along the way.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense for me to say, well, no, cause why begin it in the first place? So it is,
Back in June, yeah.
it is just the way the system, you gotta start somewhere and that's what we started. So.
Right, because yeah, if you're still interested in sticking on, I think the board is able to make that a permanent thing whenever you're ready.
Well, that's why I didn't know if the council had to do it, or if it's, I don't know who does it.
Right,
Well,
so,
Jan, are you on city council as well?
What's that? No,
Are you on city council as well?
I'm not on city council, but
Okay, then it just takes a majority of the EDA board to vote for a member. It's the members who are nominated from council, those ones have to be approved by council.
so. Well, in the case, let's just go have the discussion here about our members. So the council appointment is Paul. He's replacing Dana, so by that fact, he's the council member. And where was the note that you sent me? I thought I had it here.
Oh, yeah, you have 45 days from the time of nomination from mayor to have it approved by council, so you'd be able to get that done in December easily.
Oh, I thought I put it in another folder. I didn't put it in my PPA. So in the case of Marcia, who resigned, so is that going to be a council appointment approval by council, appointment by me and approved by council for Marcia then? We have to go through.
Yes, because she was a council member too, correct?
No,
just a member, should we just say,
just,
Oh, but she's not obviously a returning member like you would be. Okay, yep, then yes, that's correct.
so we have to go through an interview application, interview, appointment, the process as a new member.
Yep, and the reason why Jan is exempt from that is because he's already a sitting member, so he doesn't have to go through that council
Okay.
approval,
Right.
if that makes sense. So then it looks like we'll only have one vacant seat at the start of the year then.
So that would, well, would that be Marcia or Jan? When you say that?
Marcia's, because Jan, if you're into doing another one, we'll just swear you right back in January.
okay, I just wanna know if I show up in January, because I'm not a member, so.
So then finding Marcia's person is a matter of appointment then by this group, is that, we just?
It would be actually by the mayor or council.
They have to, like we did,
Yeah.
do application interviews.
Exactly, yep. You guys will be able to determine who you'd like, and then the mayor will take it to council meeting to get it finalized.
That need to be a public announcement, like, does everybody have need the opportunity to raise their hand for that position, or can it just be you cherry pick?
Yeah, it should be announced publicly.
Or,
Marcia's position.
or Marcia's place, yes.
Yes, yep,
We just have so much going on in December with no administrator, just a lot to get done with one person, so.
absolutely.
So that's
Well, and
why,
the good thing is if we're only missing one member, if we can get that out and published, even if we don't have someone ready to sit down on January 1st, at least we've got the information out there and we know that we've got the ability to make quorum each meeting.
Yeah.
While we're finding that individual.
I have a dumb question, so at tonight's meeting, I'd abstain from voting, is it a possibility that tonight's meeting because we're not having a December meeting, that you could do that, or do you have to wait till January? Because you're not gonna have a meeting in December. And then if you gotta have a quorum on January,
Well, 3 would be a quorum currently,
Jamie will be
correct?
here. So. Jeff,
And
Adam,
Paul hopefully should be there then as well.
Paul will be here. Should have a forum in January.
okay, I just,
So. So in the
Because
case
at the
of,
beginning of the meeting, you would be sworn back in. So you'd actually be able to be a part of that quorum after we've gotten started for that meeting. You'd be able to come right back
because
in.
when I served on the planning and zoning appeals in Rochester, you can do two-term years. And so I could, after my first one, they just did the same thing, you just, in January. I was just sworn back in.
that's something
exactly.
you do, would you like to stay on the committee?
Yeah, like I said, I've got this far along, but there's no sense of, if I didn't want it, I would have done it in the first place. I guess I just, the short term of what it was, I was a little shocked by it, I thought, well, you know.
I just want to make sure it's,
Yep.
before you appoint you, you're willing to serve.
Yeah, no, I'm willing to serve, that's why I showed up, and in the first place, to be able to serve on it, so that's why I did what I did.
So that would have to happen in January, it can't happen prior.
Well, it seemed like it could happen at the December council meeting.
Yep,
Or-
yeah, you can make sure that you get it all approved at the December meeting with council. That way you're ready to just walk right in on January.
So from tonight, then we just need a motion to appoint Jan to continue on the EDA then.
And then he would take the 6-year. That's how it goes, right? The next is it's always a 6
I think it would be,
year every time.
Yep, the longest seat of any council or board.
And then it
Is the
works
EDA.
backwards.
what's that?
Then it goes backwards. You always take the longest and then it goes backwards. Cause you're always serving backwards. And the next year,
Yeah, 6
5,
years
4,
down,
3,
yeah.
2, 1, and then.
Yeah, that would be okay. For 6 years or as long as you want to use that 6
Yeah,
years.
yeah. Well,
Yep.
everyone else signed up and some have resigned and. Some move and some do it. I mean, life changes and you can only say that I'll do it. I don't know what the future brings.
I make a motion that we approve. Or do we say reappoint? Jan.
We can go with reappointing.
Jan Thronson to the EDA, serving with a 6-year term.
Second the motion?
Okay.
Beautiful.
That was Adam.
That was Adam, but that,
And I'll make sure that. So,
I'm slowly getting all your faces.
approves it. I guess the council doesn't need to approve it, do they? Because he was.
Not for Jan, just because of the fact that he's already a sitting member and they've approved him once.
In case
So
somebody.
he would actually be okay.
Response, okay. All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Also, I'll abstain.
Excellent.
And then Rylan, you also wanted to discuss the Rochester area economic development.
Oh, yes, okay. So I had the opportunity, John Wade and Eric Kirkstrom. He's the executive. He's a economic development director. I want you to, yeah, I think I was pretty good. Yeah, so, I've known John for quite a few years. His predecessor, Gary Smith, he helped us, I shouldn't say, he was working for us, representing us, Rochester Area Economic Development. Why can't I think of the last word?
Probably incorporated.
Incorporated, I'm gonna say, yeah. So they tend to be, the Rochester area is a community-wide emphasis, but I think the majority of their emphasis is Rochester, but at the same time, they recognize that they wanna promote the area in economic development, so they're forming this, investors communities, and it's made up of right now Byron, Chatfield, Rochester, Pine Island, and Stewartville. And so there's an annual fee of $3,500 for communities under 5,000 residents, so they're putting this board together to have representation from all the different cities to help promote economic development in the Rochester area. So we talked about it, and it's just, for us right now, we don't have the budget for that type of donation, but at the same time, I do think it's something we should consider for the 2025 budget. In that we can be part of this investor communities. I think we're in a great position to partake and participate in that. And it just helps identify Orinoco as being a potential for investors to look at, so. In the blue, in the lower right-hand corner, it talks about the opportunities of being on the board, voting rights. Link to the community's website. Newsletter to investors. And there's some complimentary tickets to the annual meeting and luncheon, but I think it's something that Orinoco should consider doing. And it falls in line with the same thing of annual donations to the CETA organization. A representative being a partner too, so I'm not sure what their fees are for that type of sponsorship, but is there a certain, what that is?
I don't, but I know that one of our vice presidents, Joya, she actually is in Stewartville, and we've also got a couple members out in Pine Island, so I can reach out to them and I'll find out.
Okay, I think I heard it one time, but I just don't remember. It's probably changed too, of course, but I do think it's all good things, and if we have the funding to do it, I think it can promote some good results for us too, so.
What is?
If we do have those type of programs available, would you like us to take a look at joining for 2024 if we have some sort of a sponsorship available? Or would you prefer to wait a year?
Prefer to wait.
Okay,
This year is way high, so.
we got a lot happening.
We've seen those tax figures, and so we gotta work on that, but there's a lot of good things that are making those increases too, but we need to maybe I think this community engagement that we do in February will kind of help promote the city to our residents and build up some enthusiasm for doing these type of things too, so
Absolutely.
throughout the year.
What does Ready do? The city, or I mean, the EDA sponsoring. The $3,500, I see what it gets. So is it, what does Ready do? Or what is it? What are the potential outcomes of being a member of this?
I think it's just the exposure to industry that comes to the Rochester area. Maybe they want to be within a quarter mile of Highway 52. We can offer that. We can offer redundant fiber optics. We've got 2 fiber optics coming into the town that was required by C.H. Robinson, the data center. So there's, that'd be something that a lot of cities don't have, is 2 fiber optics coming into them. Proximity to Rochester, proximity to Minneapolis, an hour drive away, not an hour and 20 minutes from other Stewartville, hour and a half. So I think it just kind of makes, they drive by here and they see Orinoco, but I think by being on this investors community or being involved with Brady, I think it would just help promote all the opportunities that comes into the Brady and say, no, but here's somebody out here north of town that might have something for you. Or in Stewartville or Pine Island. So it's just
So basically,
it seems like a lot of money, I agree. And I don't know if it's just Help me, Rebecca. What?
What I was actually going to say is, I know that Chris Geeson, who was going to be doing our training tonight, has actually done a lot of work with Ready. I believe he was actually a member of their board for a good period of time. So I will check with him, and I think maybe it'd be good for him to maybe speak to that when he comes in, if that would be helpful. Otherwise I can just ask for some immediate feedback and just send it out to you, to each of you.
'Cause what about like Deed? Doesn't Deed do similar things where they might have an interested in investment company or somebody that's looking to build something somewhere, and they do similar type things, right? And then they say, yeah, we know all the communities locally, and this one has these benefits and this one has those.
Yep, and as long as we keep up with Deed, they will continue to do that. I believe Natalie Sedaris is the representative in our area. So she's usually really great about reaching out to the entire CETA network when there's something that somebody's looking for. So we always know, even if it's not directly in our area, if they're looking and we have that piece of land or that particular style of building, that we can hopefully try and take advantage of that and lure them in.
Invite her to a meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
They both know her, so I think she would be more than
Is
happy to come and talk to us.
John Wade, when you talk about Ready, is John Wade, is this a private? Is Ready a private or a nonprofit organization?
Is it not the EDA for Rochester essentially, or no, it's different? They have their
No,
own,
it's a different organization,
What?
but it is a nonprofit.
Nonprofit organization, who's the owner of the chair of it?
Let me see if I can look that up here.
Talk about John Wade, I know John Wade was on the Chamber of Commerce, and then he left there,
he's been around for a long time.
and he's somewhere else
Yeah.
now. It'd be interesting for me to see what Chatfield, the size Chatfield's kind of like Orinoco, maybe a touch bigger, not much.
When you wonder,
To see what they're gaining out of Ready. In other words, if someone down, I'm not saying it's a bad deal or anything else, but it would be kind of fun to, or kind of interesting to me to see what Chatfield, a smaller community, and says that they're putting in the $3,500. What have they seen come out of Ready?
I think this is relatively new. I think it just started something this year. Is that?
Okay,
Chris
then
can speak to that too.
they would know, but that's
Oh, it is new, yeah.
just my thought process as a smaller community at 3,500, what are they, it's always nice to hear, what do you think you're getting out of it?
Yeah.
So we can look for that.
I have a
Right.
question and a couple thoughts, I guess. One question would be, you started to speak to Rebecca, grant funds for the 3,500. How much of that 3,500 do you think could be, like, where would you anticipate grants coming from, and what?
I think it'd be more of looking at a sponsorship for it. For something like that, we can look to CETA, we can look to our local banks. Sometimes some of the local businesses, if we have some of the larger businesses that might be interested in investing, but typically something of that size, we can usually go to a local bank and they help with sponsoring it. We just make sure that we include them in anything that happens with it.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. And I guess the two prevailing thoughts that come to my mind, one is, as Rochester grows, so grows Orinoco, because we're very much a neighborhood community of theirs, right? So I imagine that's why Byron, Esterville, and even Chatfield are interested, because not saying that one of us sitting on their board is gonna make Rochester grow faster, but all the input, I think, helps, and awareness of what's going on in Rochester is pretty much all relevant to us here. And I guess another thought is, in just the general concept that one connection, if Jan's on this committee with Ready, and there actually is a communication with an investor that brings a business to town, or that could, a lead, it's kind of a lead generation source. And while we could be on that for a year or two and not receive anything, maybe nothing feels like it's actually coming from those meetings, but in the chance that a connection is made and a development comes from it, then that 3,500 starts to look pretty small. If we have a 20-acre, subdivided mini mall, or a townhouse development or something like that, seems like the 3,500 then becomes not very much.
Well, I see that the People's Cooperative, I know they have the Roundup program and everything else. I see a lot of smaller communities around the area. I always kind of look at that magazine when it comes out to see what actually, I'm really shocked at some of the money they give to some organizations that I'm thinking, wow, that they're actually going there, and the people are asking for it, and they're
Yeah.
pretty much doing it for themselves, but
Yeah.
There again, if the hand's out there and someone's willing to put some money in it, they'll take it, so.
Who would benefit more from this growth of
Well,
Orinoco?
then, I mean, that's my point is to round up, and I would think that the people to do that. $3,500 in that great scheme, I see that go all the time out for the round up program.
Yeah.
To a lot of different programs that,
Mhm.
especially in Rochester, and they're supporting a lot of things in Rochester that have nothing to do with a customer, or I'm a customer of REA, or a customer base, or anything else like that they're giving, and the money is there, so.
I guess my feeling is you absolutely need to be budget conscious, but if a lot of it can get tackled by a local private company or something like that, then the time and energy from us to be involved in that might pay dividends, might not, but it seems worthy of exploring versus just putting it out, saying no for a year or two while we, get in a more comfortable budget situation.
Yeah, it could be a no if we have to pull it from budget, but it could be a yes if it's covered 100%.
Right, and if it's 75% covered, if we get $2,000 or 2,500 from somebody, at that point, do we kick in the other 1,000? I guess it's just a matter of maybe gathering some more information before we shut it down or shut it off for 2024. But maybe we already know that that's not realistic, and that's fine too.
I'm surprised St. Charles wasn't on there. I mean, St. Charles is the same as Stratfield. And they're just as close as Stratfield, 30 miles.
And when my conversation with John and Kirk, they're looking at Dover, Yoda, they're still looking at more cities around here, so that's why.
And again, and it could be that first year that this investor community is up and running is not the best year to be involved, because like we've been doing for the last 6 months, getting up and running with not a lot of content on our meeting, but maybe in a year from now, being attached to this community is more
Well,
valuable.
I'm sure Chris can give us a lot more background about this too. 'Cause
Yeah, and I'll ask him to put something together on that too, just to make sure everybody gets whatever information they'd like on there. And just as an FYI, I did look it up, and their executive committee, it looks like their chair is Melissa Brinkman
Mhm.
right now. Their vice from Custom Alarm, and vice chair is Jarrett Jones from Merchants Bank.
Well, great. Just want to share that with you, my conversation with John and Kirk, so just something to. And I told him too, I says, this is a great opportunity, but it's just more for 2025 for sure, so. Or more positive in 2025, I should say. Nothing's for sure, so.
Right.
All right, one other, just a business related question. I was approached by the owner of Sistine Boutique. And they're over on Lake Shady Avenue, what used to be antique store, Bob's Construction. And their lease is up into this year, coming 2024. So she was asking me for buildings, empty buildings in Orinoco, and I told her I didn't know of one building, and it's relatively small compared to what they're at right now. It's a building across from the post office to a brown building across the street. It's owned by Tiffany Hauser, who owns Zen Fusion Restaurant. And so I've always talked about putting a restaurant in there, and she may be still doing that, but she didn't do that now because she couldn't put a holding tank in, still providing parking. So I told her that's a possibility. It's a smaller building, but that's one possibility. The other possibility is more of a long-term, but where they're building the Two Sisters and Kitchen Bar, that also gonna have some commercial buildings in that same area. So that might be a long-term type thing, but that's a possibility. There's no time frame for that commercial building. It's just the restaurant right now is the main focus, so. So I got a response back from her, just said, thank you, and but we just don't really, unless somebody has other ideas, I'm not aware of any empty space for her to consider.
Is there a general idea of what she's paying now or what she can afford to pay for her monthly expenditures?
I didn't ask for details. She was just looking for space.
Yeah, well, I only ask because if you're the person building the small strip all next to the Two Sisters restaurant up here or what have you, the owner of putting, having preset tenants, if you have one or two or three, can be the difference between getting the project off the ground and not getting the project off the ground. So it seems worthwhile to, if there are other people sniffing around up there as landlords, hey, we have a potential tenant. And I don't know if she's, if it's $800 a month or if it's $1,800 a month, there's a big difference in how exciting the tenant becomes.
So they're having to leave then, that lease, is that,
The lease is up this next year.
and then they can't renew?
Maybe she doesn't want to, I don't know. She just said they're looking for new space, so. Maybe they're raising it, who knows,
Got it.
that happens,
Yeah, yeah.
so. That's all I had with that, just FYI.
I don't know about, I forgot the guy's name that bought,
Jeff Green, the white building here.
Yeah, that he
Post
just-
office.
yeah,
The last time we talked to him, he's still looking at kitchen bar, restaurant too.
Good.
Daytime bar type thing, so. He started to remodel with the windows and everything
Yeah.
too, so.
fresh
He
paint.
took his for rent sign down. So I don't know if he has,
Maybe
Maybe a long-term
last week,
plan,
cause it
but-
was still in the window, or it was still up there for rent, I thought I saw something there for rent, and I was wondering if he was doing all that. You know, he's got his cars in there, he's got all kinds of stuff stored in there, so if he's gonna create a bar, I mean, there was no bathroom, there was no water in there whatsoever.
Probably can't do a bar
the
without a
sewer
bathroom.
gets hooked up.
Well, I just said, there's just a lot of things that,
At all,
and insulation wise, there was.
in the front part, well, yeah, the front part, I guess, was insulated, but not for a bar and restaurant. I'll tell you that.
No, I mean, it was just, I just think there's an awful lot of money to put in for what it is, for what you end up with, because by the time you put, if you restaurant bar, by the time you put the kitchen in there and does thing, there's not a whole room left in there.
I talked to him about renting some space a while back, right when he first bought the
Yep.
building, and he may be interested. I mean, it's definitely worth a phone call, to buy time, because he was waiting to retire, I think. And his wife was gonna move their businesses, from Rochester or something. It may be worth an inquiry.
That's all I have. Anybody else, everything else? So we'll,
What is the, just out of curiosity, what do they do with the Berg,
What?
the old Berg Antiques? Just out of curiosity. The Berg Antiques building down there, he put a roof on it,
I haven't heard anything.
and I mean, it's just sitting there. And I hate to have it happen, what happened to her, it all goes up in smoke,
Well, I hope not either.
you know,
Is that the brown or the white?
No, the right
building
next to the bridge, right next to the bridge.
Already spoken last time.
The old Berg's Antique
Yeah,
store, and I
in
just,
terms of,
yeah, I don't see anybody there. They pulled some weeds, I don't see anybody around the place or anything, doing anything, and I was just kind of curious, it's. Okay.
Show 'em what I
as
got.
long as they're paying their taxes, right?
Okay. I make a motion, meeting adjourn at 7:38. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Aye, very good, thank you. We'll see you at our next meeting in January 23rd.
All right, then Ryland, I'll see you in another week.
Safe travels.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Take care, Rebecca.
And the sheriff's department told me that they have